lastly is to ensure adherence to government and public agency programs and activities. And this is because there is also what is required or what is expected of the intern once they are recruited at an institution. Mr. Speaker, we know as a country we have so many young people who do not have employment. Actually, our employment level is going up by the day. And we have a huge population of young people who do not have work, Mr. Speaker. And it is important for us as a country to think that even as we wait for vacancies to come up, how do we engage these young people? How do we make them more active? Because many of them are losing hope. Many of them have studied under very difficult circumstances, Mr. Speaker. Just this weekend when I was at home, Mr. Speaker, a lady came to see me and told me I educated she educated the son under very difficult circumstances. And before even she concluded talking to me, she was already breaking down. The son has been at home for 5 years with no form of employment. And I know there are very many cases like those across the country, Mr. Speaker. Others have stayed for 10 years. Others have stayed even for 15 years after graduating. And so giving them an opportunity as interns keeps them busy. It gives them an opportunity to be looking out even for other job opportunities in different places, Mr. Speaker. And we shouldn't discourage the young people. You know, when you tell all to go to other skills, go do businesses, while we have not given them the capital to start the businesses, Mr. Speaker, or even as leaders, and insisting to them that higher level of education is not important, while all our children are doing masters and even doctorates. So it is not important that it is important that we encourage our young people to embrace education, but also give them avenues, Mr. Speaker, of employment, and internship can be one of those avenues that will give them that opportunity. Mr. Speaker, for example, this whole issue of JSS teachers who are recruited under the internship program, it is important that they were given that opportunity even as funds are looked for, because I know there are members who will argue, where will we get the money to recruit all these interns, Mr. Speaker? But it also gives them work experience, and it gives them an opportunity when employment now is available or vacancies are available, Mr. Speaker, the interns should be given a priority. What we have seen with for example, in the teaching profession, we find that there is a ranking system. They have been vetted. They have looked at how many years they've been out. The merit list is out there. Mr. Speaker, it is important that those who have done internship, when vacancies come out of employment, they be given priority. Because some of them have interned for many years and are hoping that if a vacancy is available, they'll be recruited. But some of us, even those who are privileged to get any vacancies somewhere, we are giving them to those who've just graduated, while we have very many people who have been interning, who have been waiting for recruitment, Mr. Speaker, and they get so demoralized and discouraged because they are not given priority during employment, Mr. Speaker. Also, there is a case that was in court about the interns, and the court ruled that there is no legal framework in this country that looks at matters to do with internship, and even one that looks at matters to do with interns, Mr. Speaker. And that is what this bill actually ensures, that as a country we start somewhere. We can always improve it as we implement it. As we go forward, we can always come up with amendments so that we ensure as a country we have a bill that looks at internship at the public service. And even in future, we can encompass the private sector. They can come on board to see how they can also plug in. Mr. Speaker, on the side of the interns will be expected to abide by the rules and regulations of the public service institution that will have recruited them. Secondly, they will be expected to demonstrate commitment and willingness to fully and actively participate in the learning experiences of the internship programs. Mr. Speaker, they'll also be ready to be deployed to any relevant office or workstation within the public service institution where there may be an internship vacancy. Mr. Speaker, the intern, he himself or herself has to make effort to acquire relevant skills in the area of specialization. I would also like to call upon the interns and even those who are given these opportunities, Mr. Speaker, not just to go through them because it is a requirement. Personally, when I was recruited as an intern at KBC, I told myself I will not live there without a job. I will do my work so well that even when my internship is done, those who work there will see that I was valuable there. And that is what I did. I worked so hard. When the journalists were coming in at 6:37, I was always there. So that when another journalist is late, I will be given that slot to go to the field, because interns always accompany the journalist. But sometimes if there are no journalists to be sent out, as an intern, I was being sent out. In the evening, instead of leaving at 4 p.m. or 5 p.m., or 3 even, because there's no work and you're just lazing around, I would always stay until the 7 p.m. news has started. And so there can be breaking news at around 6 or 6:30. And when the editor walks into the newsroom, they will always find me there. And then I would be sent for that assignment. And slowly, I got experience, I got to learn, and I would want to tell our interns, even if you're given the slightest job, do it to your perfection. Learn more, ask questions, until when a vacancy appears there, that institution will always remember. Make a mark in any institution that you get your internship, so that others can see the value that you add to that institution or organization, and it will open doors for you when the time comes, Mr. Speaker. The interns are also expected to complete assignments given by their mentor or supervisor. They are also required to provide regular feedback to the supervisor on the progress that the intern is making and any challenges thereto with regard to the internship program. They are also expected to observe confidentiality of information and security of tools or requirements that are placed in the possession of the intern in the course of the internship program. Some of them are given laptops, some of them are given cameras, some of them are given anything that you'll be given by that institution to enable you to learn or to work. You should ensure that you safeguard it and return it to the institution. Also on the same, ensure a proper handover of all the materials and equipment belonging to the public service institution at the end of the internship period, and ensure clearance by the relevant authorities before leaving the internship station. Mr. Speaker, there's something I wanted us to be clear about in the bill, on which Cabinet Secretary will be involved in this matter. I know that we have a Public Service Commission, and they're the ones who have been looking at the bigger picture of the interns or internship recruitment, Mr. Speaker, in the country. But we can't leave the whole issue of interns to public service, Mr. Speaker, and that is why this bill was not looking at just the Public Service Commission, because even the Parliamentary Service Commission recruits. And it is not PAC that recruits on behalf of Parliament. Parliament itself does it. The Judicial Service Commission also recruits, Mr. Speaker. And we have other institutions which also recruit interns, and not through the public service. So the Public Service Commission can continue doing its work. They're doing a tremendous job. We've seen them advertising very many positions of internship. They're doing a good job, and they should continue with their job. But what this bill looks at is the entire public service, the entire public service sector. Because there are other institutions which also recruit individually, as I said, like the PAC and the Judicial Service Commission itself. And so in no way does this bill take away the powers or the work that the Public Service Commission does. It only gives a bigger framework on how we deal with internship as a country in the public service sector, Mr. Speaker. And so what will the interns be entitled to? They'll be entitled to paternity and maternity leave. When I was making my submission to the Labor Committee, Mr. Speaker, they told me that the young men do not require paternity leave. You've just come to work. That is the mentality I want us to change, and to give interns just the dignity as the rest of the people in the country have, Mr. Speaker. The second thing is subsistence allowance, as may be determined by the cabinet secretary from time to time. They can consider in their regulations how much the interns need to be paid, but the allowance has to be there, Mr. Speaker, so that it can enable them to work and to deliver in their mandate where they'll be interning, Mr. Speaker. So, as I conclude, the internship period shall be valid for any period as may be determined by a person in charge of a public service institution, but such internship period shall not exceed 12 months, Mr. Speaker. We said 12 months so that the intern can gain enough experience. Because if we just do 3 months or 4 or 5 months, Mr. Speaker, an intern will not have gotten the enough experience where they'll be working, Mr. Speaker. But then also they can't exceed 12 months, because there are very many other young people out there who want these opportunities, and so we thought that 12 months is sufficient enough for an intern to gain the relevant experience where they will be working. Finally, Mr. Speaker, an intern shall be liable to have his or her internship discontinued on the grounds of absence from the public service institution without permission or reasonable cause for a period exceeding 24 hours. And so interns should know that this bill is not just to safeguard them or protect them, but they also need to ensure that the absenteeism is not a matter that they will be condoning when they are working. Also, gross and disorderly misconduct, unsatisfactory performance, failure to obey any lawful institutions, or commission of a criminal offense. An intern may terminate internship by submitting a 30 days notice in writing to the person in charge of public service. And so I would like to urge this House and members to support this bill, Mr. Speaker, because it is one that brings together our young people, gives them opportunities to acquire the relevant skills and experience as interns, but also ensuring that they do it in a dignified manner, and also to urge the government of the day to continue to provide money for their recruitment. I am happy that in the past, for example, like in 2018, 2019, and 1920, Kenya shillings 1 billion was provided in the budget for the recruitment of interns, Mr. Speaker. If anything, I would urge that more money is put into the internship program so that we can mop up our young people, give them experience and skills. It can even give them the skills to go and then venture into other areas on their own, Mr. Speaker. And we have also included those who are doing, who are in TVET institutions, because as a country, we are focusing and emphasizing on the important role that our TVETs play. So without further taking so much time, Mr. Speaker, I would like to call upon the able chair of Labor and Social Service Affairs, who accorded me all the necessary opportunity to work on this bill, Honorable Muchangi Karemba from Runyenjes, to second. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
Just sit down before you second. And, you know, the Honorable Lesuda said, make a mark at the place you get a chance for internship. And I wanted to use that statement to welcome students from the United States International University, Africa, from Roysambu, to follow proceedings of this House this morning. They are seated in the Speaker's Gallery, and they are welcome to follow what's going on in the House this morning. In the same vein, I also wish to welcome students from Waithaga Boys High School, Kiharu constituency, Muranga, and students from Tulaga Secondary School, Kinangop, Nyandarua County. They are all welcome to follow our proceedings this morning. Karemba, now you can proceed and second this particular bill.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to second this bill by the Honorable Lesuda. And Honorable Speaker, allow me to say and thank the Honorable Naisula for having been very focused on this issue of internship, having been a beneficiary of the internship program back at the KBC, and her pursuit for this legislation began in the last house, and she has consistently followed to ensure that it comes to the floor of this house. Honorable Speaker, the issue of internship is very important, and as the Honorable member has indicated, that it requires a legal framework, because right now it is scattered all over, and there is need to harmonize the internship program so that the process of undertaking the internship becomes well guided in the laws, and it becomes easy to offer opportunities to young people. So, Honorable Speaker, the Public Service Internship Bill 2022, which was sponsored by the Honorable Lesuda, MP, is a bill for an act of parliament to make provision for internship of college and university graduates in the public sector, to provide hands-on training and acquisition of skills by graduates. The bill was published on the 16th of December 2022 and read a first time in the House on the 8th of March 2023, pursuant to the Standing Order 127-1. The bill was committed to the Departmental Committee on Labor for consideration and facilitation of public participation pursuant to the Standing Order 127. The Clerk of the National Assembly placed advertisements in the print media on the 18th March 2023, seeking for comments from the public on the bill pursuant to the Article 118 of the Constitution. In addition to the request for memoranda from the public, the following stakeholders were requested to submit their views to the committee. 1. Office of the Attorney General and Department of Justice. 2. State Department for Public Service. 3. Public Service Commission. 4. Law Society of Kenya. And lastly, Kenya Law Reform Commission. Honorable Speaker, the committee received submissions from 1. The Honorable Lesuda, who is the sponsor of the bill. Then 2, the State Department for Public Service. 3, Public Service Commission. And 4, Law Society of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, the committee, having considered the bill and stakeholders' submissions, observed the following: that 1, the bill incorrectly placed the management of the internship program under the Cabinet Secretary responsible for matters related to labor. The committee proposed an amendment to provide that the responsible Cabinet Secretary shall be the Cabinet Secretary responsible for public service. 2, the bill seeks to guard against the enactment of several legislations to provide for internship within the public service and seeks to harmonize the salient principles to be observed by all offices in the public service in the recruitment of interns. 3, the term certificate has been used in 2 different contexts. 1, to mean the standard minimum qualification for internship, and the second as a certificate issued upon completion of the internship period. Then the 4th issue was there is need to amend clause 5, 1, to provide that the act shall apply to every public office as defined in Article 260 of the Constitution. Then 5, internship is not only aimed at professional registration, but also to acquire necessary skills and experience to enhance employability. And this the Honorable Member has really spoken to. And currently, Honorable Speaker, we have thousands of young people who have been engaged in this internship program. And what is happening across the country is that these young people are being offered a chance to know what happens in these public offices. And it is the surest way of ensuring that our country has sufficient people who are full of energy and who also understand how the job is done in these public offices. Because, Honorable Speaker, every day people are retiring in government, and those vacancies should be filled up by people who possess the necessary skills, but not just the skills, but also the experience that goes with those offices. We have very good success stories, Honorable Speaker, from those people who have been given internship opportunities. And going by what we have seen, if when we enact this law, I am sure more people will benefit, and especially the young people who come from the rural areas, because the opportunities that they've been getting through the Public Service Commission draws membership from across the country. And they are posted to different offices across the ministries. And we have very good reports coming from them and the exposure that they have gotten from these offices, which is going to help them begin life or even become more employable, or rather improve or enhance employability. Any internship period below 6 months may not be adequate for acquisition of relevant experience and skills and inculcating of public service values and ethos. Then 7, the current bill has no provision of the involvement of the private sector, compelling the private sector to take on interns, and perhaps employing them permanently would create a financial burden to companies trying to stay afloat, as the number may be unsustainable. However, perhaps with the incentive from government, the companies may take and onboard the interns. Well, we believe that can also be provided for in subsequent legislation that does not have to involve this, because the Honorable Lesuda dwelled on the public service sector, but we believe even the private sector, Honorable Speaker, if they are given an opportunity and incentives, they can provide chances for young people to get interns. Because, for instance, the number of people who work in the public sector, in the public service, are approximately 1 million. But this country has up to about 20 million people who are employed. So it means we have up to around 18 to 19 million who are employed in the private sector. So it means if the private sector is given incentives, which includes tax rebates, they can be able to accommodate many more young people and give them the necessary skills and experience, and therefore the energy, the skills, and the knowledge in these young people can be properly utilized, other than the congestion that comes with the opportunities that are available in the public sector. Then one of the other observations, Honorable Speaker, we made was that the bill will cure the mischief of exploitation of professionals like teachers, doctors, lawyers, who currently are taken on as unpaid interns in the private sector to gain experience, yet are struggling to repay the loans taken during their schooling. Honorable Speaker, there is a lot of exploitation. And we are discussing this bill at a time when Teacher Service Commission has terminated services of up to 700 JSS teachers. And it is very unfortunate for Teacher Service Commission, to do that to young people who are just trying to speak out and say about how unfair it is for them not to be absorbed in the teacher service with the Teacher Service Commission. Honorable Speaker, when the intern doctors went on strike, they stayed away from work for over 50 days. And they were claiming for as high, or rather, they were claiming for an amount as high as 206,000. They were never fired. They were never interdicted. They remained employees. But JSS teachers who have been earning 17,000 shillings per month, when they speak out, TSC interdicts them. They have show cause letters right now as we speak. And I believe it is the time this Honorable House calls the CS for Education and the Teacher Service Commission to appear before this House and to explain as the reasons as to why they have to be very unfair to these young people who are just trying to speak out and fight for what rightfully belongs to them. So I believe this proposal, this proposed legislation by the Honorable Lesuda is going now to cure that, because it will provide for how much these interns should earn. You can imagine those of us who are in Kenyatta University, and several of us have been mentioned here. I don't want to repeat because you all know us. Yeah, I am told the deputy majority leader was in KU, but I never saw him. I never saw him there. Maybe he was there.
You were too young to have seen him. You were too young to have seen him. Don't throw those stones. Go ahead.
Yeah, those of us who are in KU, we were there. All of us were there, and yes, I can see another honorable members who was in KU. The doctors, yes. The doctors were there, the lawyers were there, the teachers were there, yeah? We were sharing the same hostels. So when the doctors graduated, they go to an hospital, they are paid 206,000. But another teacher, yeah, whom you are sharing a hostel with, goes to a school, is given an internship, and is paid 17,000. It is unfair. So this bill, I believe, will cure those challenges, and it will provide for fairness in the area of internship. But I really wish to thank the honorable members of the Departmental Committee on Labor for the work that they did. They came in and supported this bill. And I believe that by the discussions by the honorable members who are in here and those that will come, we will be able to enrich this bill as we look forward to its enactment. So thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I second.
Thank you. Honorable members,